won't go bragging. I'ma let you have it. You think that I'm teasing, but I ain't got no reason. I'm sure that I can please you. But first I gotta ooh, boy, you looking like you like it. What you see? Come over and chuck up on it. I'ma let you rock up on it. Ladies, let them chuck up on it. Watch it while he chuck up on it. Come over and chuck up on it. I'ma let you rock up on it. Ladies, let them chuck up on it. Watch it while he chuck up on it. Come over and chuck up on it. I'ma let you rock up on it. Ladies, let them chuck up on it. Watch it while he chuck up on it. Come over and chuck up.
Y'all on a food tour today?
Yes, we are.
The Wakefields?
Yes.
Nice to meet y'all. I was actually coming down here to answer a phone call. I bet those are the Wakefields.
Yes.
I'll be your tour guide.
Yeah, is it just us or is there more?
It's y'all and a few other folks over here.
Okay.
You guys make yourself comfortable and we'll get started pretty soon.
All right.
Is there any restaurants that we can?
My name is Taylor. Born and raised little Memphis, and I lived here my entire life. And I love talking about the history of Memphis, of course, the culture, the food, the music. Being a food tour, mainly food, so I got y'all. And everyone is hungry, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So I'm walking on 5 restaurants today, so I hope so.
Ooh.
Now, all the restaurants are on Beale Street. We're going to get a little bit of a variety of different foods today.
Yay.
But not on the walking, because, it's all on Beale, but there's a lot of history to Beale Street, so we're going to fill that in with a lot of history. When it comes to payment, I'm basically paying for everything on this tour today but the alcohol. That doesn't mean you can't drink. Have as much fun as you like. All right, well, our first stop, y'all, we are starting off strong. This is not healthy, but it is delicious. It's the oldest burger joint here in the city. It's called Dyer's Burger. Y'all, it is the oldest burger joint, opened in 1912 by the man Elmer Doc Dyer, who it's named after.
I'm glad I didn't eat. I'm glad I didn't eat today. We're from this area.
From this area?
Yeah, we just live in Nashville.
Okay, so we live in Clarksville. I work in Nashville. So he's from here, but I was like, we're doing the tour.
Yeah.
Same thing.
You ain't warm yet?
Nope.
When? We were. Okay, I thought you were saying we was with somebody else, but I know what you're talking about.
Me and you was on Beale Street probably 2 years ago. That's
Alright guys, this is our first stop. Looks like the bar is open. So just heading to the bar, the high tops, and again, just look for the cast iron skillet. If you can see the vitamin G, really hard to get these skillet, but come on in.
Oh, I can't wait to eat. Lord. So good.
So a company down in Mississippi, they're called Lodge Cast Iron. Has anyone ever heard of Lodge? We love Lodge. Lodge are the folks that made this skillet for them, and it's an exact replica of Elmer Dyer's original skillet. They made 3 of them, and one skillet can fit 60 raw patties fully submerged at one time. So, they can make a lot. But once we get the waters out, I'll talk about the process, how they deep fry them. There are some secrets behind that vitamin G, and I'm going to tell y'all everything. Don't worry about that. But let me get some waters out for you.
That's the skillet. Let's take a picture. Hold on.
No cheese, and this one has cheese.
Okay.
Kind of mix and match you can. Let me get a box.
I do
This
cheese.
one has no. And then, of course, the extra slice, we can just put in this box right here.
Okay.
Alright, folks, the double, the OG. And actually, for the first 2 years when Elmer Dyer opened up the restaurant in 1912, he only had the double on the menu for about 2 years. So this is definitely the original burger. But some of this, is this your first time having a Dyer's burger? Jared? Really? Intriguing. I love it. He works at St. Jude, 2 miles that way, so you should come back to Beale Street, y'all. Get some Dyer's burgers.
That's why I asked what you were doing.
Alright guys, now I did tease there are some secrets behind that vitamin G. There are 2. And one of them really is not a secret. The concept is still kind of a mystery, but it's really not a secret. It's actually been told on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. It's on the back of the menu. But a lot of people want to know how old is the grease inside that cast iron skillet. And the biggest person that got me into food was my grandmother. She was a chef in Savannah, Georgia. We called her Dot Dot. And my Dot Dot, she always taught me, don't throw away that extra grease, girl. Save that stuff, use it for later. They pretty much do the exact same Same thing here. And kind of think of like a sourdough starter or like a sourdough maker. So it's not uncommon, but for a burger joint, it is still pretty unique. So folks want to know how old is the grease, and y'all, we're not going to lie to you and tell you a number because we're really not quite sure. We call it ageless vitamin G. But since the grand opening in 1912, and trying is the key word here, but since 1912, they've been trying to recycle, reuse, and restrain that grease for about 117 years now. So, you know, I see everyone's eyes getting big. We're not convincing you it's that old. We just don't know. That's what we call it ageless vitamin G. But, you know, nothing's perfect. They do throw away contaminated grease. They do add fresh grease every once in a while to kind of zhuzh it up a little bit, and they do flavor the grease, and that is. But after the assassination, there was a lot of tension, led to a lot of racial tension, which did lead to a lot of rioting, and there was a mass exodus from downtown Memphis. And I'm not saying there wasn't a population of people that lived here, because there was, but for a good 12 years, there's actually more people in our Shelby County jails living in downtown Memphis, and Shelby County is the largest county in Tennessee. That kind of tells you something. But they slowly started rebuilding Beale Street as more of a tourist attraction in 1977. It took 5 years, but they finally reopened in 1982. Party foul? Beer? Oh Lord, that was a keg. Oh, Lord. Have fun picking that up. Now let's see, once they finally reopened in 1982, the morale, not just for Beale Street, but the entire downtown area, the morale was really low. People were scared of downtown. There was no tourism happening, no locals were coming back downtown. So for the first 2 years, there was a Chinese restaurant, which lasted like 9 months, and then a Schwab, which is like a quirky merchandise store. There was no place you go have a seat, listen to music, have some drinks and dinner, you know, until Rum Bookie opened their doors. And you'll see what I'm talking about if you haven't been. It's a little overwhelming. 350 signed guitars, all has some tie to the city of Memphis, whether it's blues, rock and roll, gospel, soul, jazz, R&B, you know, a little bit of everything. But we'll sit y'all down, I'll kind of explain the whole guitar thing, and then we'll let y'all walk around as much as you like. Okay. And then, of course, the food we're going to get is gumbo, and again, getting Nola out of your head, y'all. So a little bit different. Alfred's across the street. That opened in 1985 as well, September of 1985, and it's not named after a human. Alfred was the owner's pet capuchin monkey who had to work with him every single day for the first 3 years after he opened. Y'all, it's very common to have animals, you know, wandering around the bars here. We have the ducks in the Peabody. I'll introduce you to Molly and Bailey at Silky's pretty soon. So, you know, having a monkey, whatever. And he was in a little area, like a little caged area. But capuchins, you know, specifically male capuchins, they're known for escaping. So he would just escape pretty much every day. And one time he got caught. Now this was like, I don't know if it was like, you know, a health inspector or whatever. This happened in July. It gets really hot and humid. They could not find the monkey, but they eventually found him in the bar ice, like in the ice, trying to cool it off. They saw his tail sticking out of it.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, I mean, obviously they're still here. The monkey was banned. He was no longer able to come back to the restaurant. Lived a very happy, healthy life, but he did eventually pass away in 2001. The owner, he stuffed him and he hung him on top of the bar. So if you go inside Alfred's today, you will see Alfred.
Wow.
I know nothing about taxidermy, but I know you got to keep up with that stuff. They haven't been doing that. You know, he's not cute, but they dusted him for St. Patty's Day. That's nice. So if you want to meet a monkey, Alfred, you
That's cool.
People have what we call wooden coffins, these boxes on the wall. Now, anyone that has an instrument in a wooden coffin, other than Elvis Presley, has been on the main stage performing, either for one song or entire set, but it does help distinguish him. The very first person to be on the stage, his name was Billy Gibbons. Billy Joel was number 2, Stevie Ray Vaughan was number 3, Isaac Hayes was number 4, just went on from there. And the only reason why Elvis has one in the coffin, we do know that this building was a juke joint in the 40s. We know for a fact that Elvis has been in the building. So they asked Priscilla Presley, can we have an Elvis guitar? She said, well, sure, can I have one too? That's why she's got one. And the owner pretty much said, honey, you're not Elvis. If you want an instrument in a coffin, you have to do something on the stage. Now, I was not here, but allegedly she did Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yeah. That's something.
Is the only one not signed because of that. Now, the ones on the ceiling, these are random people. They all have some kind of Memphis. Whether they're musicians, athletes, directors, actors, those are the businesses. They were either donated by the person or the museum themselves or a whole piece of guitar back. I know this is anyone's first time before COVID. Right across the street, we have the largest guitar factory here in the States. It was the only one where you could tour it and watch the guitars at the same time. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Freeze pop. That's what it feel like. I mean, that's what it tastes like.
Still to go green on Beale Street.
Oh, let's take a picture.
For chicken and Dewey sausage and gator gumbo.
So it could be either or.
Could be either or, could be a little bit of everything.
Hopefully this gumbo is delicious. I get what I paid for.
That's right.
Alright guys, now to help distinguish with the actual food inside, the sausages and Dewey, they cut them in quarters. The chicken's a lighter color and they shred it, and then the gators can be a large chunk of meat that's a darker color, but does taste like chicken. Now if y'all didn't know gator, we weren't always known. She's right, gator is very good for you too. Alright guys, now gumbo. Now, oh real quick, this is for y'all, the woman that shakes all the things. Alright guys,
I can't tell what kind of meat it
usually
is.
when I say Memphis is known for a gumbo, I do literally picture like a question mark from a group of people's head. You know, I get it. You think about gumbo, you think about New Orleans, Louisiana, you don't really think about Memphis. Any place have whatever they can look hot. But there is one common ingredient with any kind of a gumbo, no matter where you are, and that's okra. You gotta have okra in a gumbo. And I actually learned that now in New Orleans, took a gumbo tour. The actual term gumbo in the West African language does translate to okra. That's the one thing. What's different are the kind of food you uses, your base, and then of course your food. Now, a traditional gumbo, kind of thing like New Orleans, it's very thin, very spicy, usually made with one root, but we use...
Record the stage. We just had some gumbo. That gumbo was A1. It was so good. Rum Boogie Cafe.
We're going to do a little history. If you may have noticed, there's a facade of a building across the street with no building behind it. It's a really cool courtyard bar. That's pretty much the number one question I get on any of my tours is, what are we doing with that building? So I'll give you all the history. If you're wondering, we are not fixing it, we're not rebuilding it. We've been holding that damn thing up since 1982, and it's a really cool courtyard bar. The city of Memphis hates it, but they legally cannot touch it, so we'll talk about that. But I'll give you the history of the building, I'll tell you what happened to it, and then I'll take you back there. But y'all follow me and watch your stuff coming out. It's steeper than it looks. Talking about, yep. I was talking about this right over here. This pretty giant facade, and you know, having the facade or some section of an old building still up is very common in old historical cities. But typically they build buildings behind the facades, not just an open facade here. And the city does truly hate it. It's a massive safety hazard. We'll talk about that. The building itself dated back to 1891. It was called the Galena Exchange Building, named after Charles Galena, the man that actually owned the building for the first 40 years. And if you ever take an architecture tour, they always tell you to look up. If you look at the very top of the facade, you'll still see Galena Building. The first name was carved up there. Once y'all see that, y'all follow me across the street. So the city, they have been trying to knock it down ever since Silky turned into a patio. But they legally can't touch it. One, if they ever knock it down, you know, they have to knock out the whole thing at one time. They legally can't go towards Beale Street. They gotta go this way. So the very first thing that Silky did was plant those trees that y'all see. These are Peruvian pear trees, y'all. If you want to get an idea of his personality, there's a picture of him right behind y'all. That's Silky. Interesting guy, y'all, but he was a genius on good that. Peruvian pear trees. They're actually from China. And China donated about 100 to the U.S. in the early 1900s. They're still here, but there's only 34 left in the U.S., which makes them rare and oriental. In the States, a rare oriental tree, you can't harm it, you can't knock it down, and you can't move it without the owner's permission. They're never moving these trees, y'all. So if they knock it down, it is illegal. Technically, the only thing that can't touch it is Mother Nature. So thank you to Silky. I would kind of joke it's safe on both sides. But it does make for a really cool courtyard bar. Let's see, the fountain was completed by cats. It does work. It's over here sometimes. The Orpheum. They
Hey, Pookie!
We are the 7th generation of female goats in the back here. We've been here for about 6 years in total. And we've always been called Molly, Baby, or Angelina and Zena. There's a whole house full of them. Yes, there is. Always. Alright, folks. Y'all are more than welcome to walk around and take pictures. Once you're done, I'll be standing over here by the stage. Y'all have fun. The building opened in 1890. There's no picture proof of that, but if that's true, bougie is what I would call it. So just imagine this: for the first 40 years, this one building was a gambling hall, brothel, saloon, courthouse, and a hotel, all at one time. All at one time. The pride of Beale Street, you guys. But the family, they sold the building in 1932. This was the Great Depression has really hit the city, and they sold the building to Memphis. Memphis does still own what's left of this building. And for the next decades, they would rent it out to different people. It was a department store for a long time. It was a campus restaurant for a hot minute. A 3-story dentist office, which is pretty cool. Up in the city, they shut down the whole thing in 1967.
She's talking about this right here.
Again, the assassination, there was a lot of rioting that happened. There was a 10-person riot that started about 2 blocks that way in 1972. It merged down Beale Street. It caught the entire building on fire. It was the first black owned fine dining restaurant. Unfortunately, shut down in the 70s like everything else did, but reopened in the late 80s as more of a gastro pub. The sign does work on this side. It just burned out a couple weeks ago on the other side. And the cool thing about King's Palace, this is not the original location. It's actually a and they actually took a lot of decoration out of it. They stored it inside this building. This is one of the oldest buildings in downtown. They have a massive basement, so they're able to store a lot of stuff. So even though it's more of a gastropub, you do get a pretty good idea of what it looked like when it was fine dining.
Man, me too. I'm ready.
Big shots, 4 cups, y'all fill it out.
How many of us are there?
7.
That's 7. Can we pull a chair right here so we can sit together? Here, let's pull a chair right here and we can sit together.
There are
Now you're gonna nut the
plates.
wings. Like she explained earlier. We're gonna nut these wings.
Each plate.
This tells you enough. You're all the same.
Yeah, it does. The big ass paper towels.
And a stack of
Oh my. Thank you, darling.
These are hot, so be careful.
And one of my favorites here is Don Don's because it's a hometown family that's done it for the last like 30 years, but it's in the suburbs. But you go crack it. All you will see from mine is bone. If there's any meat left on it, it wasn't me that chewed on it.
Yeah.
And it's like a one. It's a one. It's interesting.
Alright guys, now these are Memphis
That's where you were supposed to say pause.
that Memphis is known for. Now Memphis, we are one of the 4 major barbecue capitals of the States. And I mean it by one, y'all. I'm not saying we're the best, I'm not saying we're the only. Bologna, we're also known for barbecue spaghetti, shotgun shells, Cornish hens,
Wait,
and chicken
barbecue
wings.
spaghetti?
How you do that?
So,
And you'll get a lot of dry rubs here. Memphis big.
it was actually invented by